So today you are actually going to conduct your own speed lab. So we did the scooter races and you're going to do something very similar to that. However, you're going to do it with your group. So go ahead and find your lab write-up. Make sure to write your name at the top. The question that we're trying to answer, what we're trying to investigate, is how will the height of the ramp affect the car's speed? So if you take a look, what we're going to do is you are going to set up a ramp using 4 blocks at first. And what you guys are going to do is let the car roll down the ramp, and we're going to then calculate the speed of the car as it rolls on the ground. After that, we're going to add more blocks. We're going to actually add 2 more blocks to our ramp to make it higher. We're then going to do the same experiment again, where we're going to let it roll onto the ground and calculate out the speed. So I want you to hypothesize, which is basically answering the question. So find your hypothesis. It says, if the height of the ramp is higher, then the car's speed will be slower or faster. You need to circle one of these. Do you think that when we increase the height of the ramp, will the car go slower or will the car go faster? Your procedure. This is how we're going to set up our lab. Your director will be the person who actually sets up the lab, or who makes sure that everybody follows the directions for the lab and helps sets it up. So the procedure, set up the ramp on 4 blocks. Place the car at the top of the ramp. Let go of the car and start the timer when the car starts rolling on the floor. It's very important that we start the timer when it's on the floor. Stop the timer when the car crosses the finish line. Record data in data table. You're recording the times. And then we're going to repeat all of those steps for 3 trials. So remember when we did the scooter race, each person who was on the scooter got to go twice. They had their first trial and their second trial. You're going to do 3 trials and you're going to write down all of the times for those. Once you've done that for the 4 blocks, you then need to increase the height of the ramp to, that's not 6, to 6 blocks. Okay, so we have 4 blocks, then we're going to add 2 more. You need to then do the same thing you did before, 3 trials for it also. You're going to record all of your data in the data table. So take a look at our data table here. We know that we're going to use the formula distance divided by time equals speed. We know that because we've used it before. It says 4 block ramp. This is where you're going to write down the times for when your car goes down the 4 block ramp. Don't worry about calculating the speed yet. Then you're going to do the same thing for the 6 block ramp. Write down the times. Don't worry about calculating the speed yet. When you go to set up your ramp, it's really important that you have your tape on the ground. Let's see if I can do this. You have your tape on the ground. It's really important that your ramp is on the tape, and that's where it starts. This whole area in between the two pieces of tape, this is where your car is going to travel. This is where you're going to get the time, okay? You start the time when it's on the ground, and then you stop it when it crosses the finish line. That's the time you're going to write down. In order to use the stopwatch, my technician, you're responsible for timing the lab. We have our stopwatch here. It should say 00 on it, okay? There is a button that says start stop. This is what you're going to press when it gets to when the car is rolling on the ground. Oops. Maybe. Oh, this one is not working so well. Hang on. So if you find one that doesn't work that well, scientists, let me know so that we can get you a new one. What you're going to do when it starts on the ground, you're going to press the start. The time's then going to go. You are then going to press stop. You are going to get a time. This says 4:62. This would be 4.62, okay? And then I press reset, and it should go back to 00. After that, after you are done gathering all of your data, what you're going to do then is you're going to calculate the speed. When we calculate our speed, we need to make sure that we are taking our distance divided by our time. Now, the cool thing is that your data table is already set up to do this. You have your distance. We're going to then divide that by our time, and that's going to equal our speed. And remember, we measure speed in meters per second for this case. So we're going to take our distance, we're going to divide it by our time, and we're going to get our speed. Same thing, distance, which is 1 for all of these. 1 divided by your time equals your speed. Our distance divided by our time equals the speed. You're going to do that for all of your data. So that includes our trial for 4 blocks and our trial for 6 blocks. After that, put all of your supplies back in your bin. And as a group, you need to talk about your error analysis. Your error analysis is just something that went wrong. What happened during your lab? So for me right now, my error analysis was that my stopwatch wasn't working. So I would write that down. My stopwatch wasn't working. Maybe when you go to set up your ramp, all your blocks fall down. That happens. Maybe your car does not go in a straight line, it curves. That can also happen. Write down one error that occurred. After you have that, you need to write your scientific conclusion. So write a scientific conclusion using claim, evidence, and reasoning to answer the question. How did the height of the ramp affect the car's speed? So now we have to look at our data. Well, how did the speed change when the ramp got higher? How did the speed change when the ramp was lower? Your claim, it answers that question. How did the height of the ramp affect the car's speed? So when the ramp's height was, you circle one of these, higher or lower, the car's speed was, circle one of these, faster or slower. Then when the ramp's height was, and then you're going to put the opposite of what you put first. Your evidence, using words, write down the speeds of the car. Now, when I say speeds, I don't mean fast or slow. I mean 1.61 meters per second or 2.58 meters per second. So when the ramp was 4 blocks high, the car's speed was, and in these spaces, you actually go back to your data table and you write down the speeds. Then your reasoning. You are going to explain why. Why did the car's speed change when the ramp was higher? Explain why. Once you're done with that, come talk to me and I'll tell you what you can do next.